Needless to say, there's a few members here missing, Chairman Gerard as well as Mr. Gale, so a little bit feeling like old times here, three-man board up front. And, you know, we'll see if we can go through the agenda here quickly. Any announcements? Joe Wagner, Representative Wagner.
Thank you. Just a couple quick ones. Just a reminder, this Thursday, 5 to 7, at Massabesic High School Auditorium, an insurance forum, questions answered with respect to the new federal health care law and how it impacts on small businesses, on Medicare recipients, anyone with a health care plan. People are encouraged to bring their documentation as well if they have specific questions, and the officials from the state will address that. Also now available are applications for the circuit breaker program on the property tax. Just basically if one fulfills a certain income qualification and the property tax is in excess of 4% of income, there is an opportunity for a rebate on that. The application itself can be downloaded, or you can call for a copy, or you can call me and I'll get a copy to you. And that's 499-0104, and I'll make sure that the application gets to you. Thank you. That's what I got.
Thanks, Joe. And it's the Massabesic High School cafeteria? Auditorium.
Just want to mention briefly that the painting of the, I guess the gym next door has been completed. If you have an opportunity to take a look at it, it looks really, really nice. They just got some finishing things for the floor. It's going to be done, and when that's varnished, it'll certainly have a whole new look.
Okay, anything else? Okay, we do have an appointment. Jerry?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Pro-temp, members of the board. You should have before you tonight the personal property collection company that you have before you is Susan Schwed. And in July, we would have reviewed or at least discussed the other two collection agencies, Daggett and Parker from Portland, Maine. The other one would have been the Thomas Agency from Portland, Maine. And Susan Schwed is also from Portland, Maine. Seems like all the collection agencies are in the Portland area. In the case of Susan Schwed, her material came in only this morning. That's why you had it before you for the night. And I know you probably didn't have time to read the various service contracts. I looked through them earlier this morning, earlier today, and I find that most of this is pretty much set up for a city. Sounds like a large city in Cumberland County. She does quite a bit of work for municipalities. She specializes, I guess she's been in business for 25 years, and pretty much seems to have her act together when it comes to proceeding with collections. Her track record, from what I can gather, I've talked to the assessor of a large city in Cumberland County, and he indicated that they use her services pretty often. I think on an RFP here that you have before you, this particular city had given her an assignment of collecting personal property taxes of $650,000, parking tickets amounting to $350,000, and various other receivable accounts of $230,000. So it's a large assignment in this case. Her contract requires pretty much the basic fee, if you will. She expects 25% contingency fee if it involves no suit or going to court, and 35% contingency fee if she has to go to court. And in this case, $100 for anything that she would have to collect that is valued under $300. I don't expect seems we don't have the full board, a major decision on which company to go with, but I think possibly another week, put it on the agenda again. The board will have time to look through it, and possibly in a week's time, the board will be able to give a direction on where they want to go.
Okay, any questions of Jerry? All right, thanks, Sherry, for providing the update. Hearing a delegation, Brad?
Fred Favor, Commissioner. You gentlemen have a copy of what they had there. Now, Gordon, do you have some pictures of that
Yep.
where you took them?
I'm trying to bring them up right now here.
Is it raining on the bridge?
Yeah, well, that's what caused the problems, I guess. This is here, what we're talking about, you can see it. This is where Cooks Brook crosses, right down here. That's the area. This is, to give you a reference point, this is where the Hannaford store is, right at this intersection.
Want me to turn the light off?
That's what we're up against right there. And what's happened there over the years, is the water has gone under the base of this, on what was there for footings, and now there's nothing there. So what we'd like to do is dig out, pour new footings, and put footings way in underneath there, get the water out of there. So as you see the picture on the right, and then rebar this whole thing and re-pour a wall there and re-pour right over the top with cross rebar across it and lengthwise. It's going to take a lot of rebar. It's a costly thing to dig that out, I'll tell you right now. Those walls down there are probably 6, maybe 8 feet deep, and they're very, very thick at the bottom, because that was probably all hand poured. There's no rebar in there at all, it's all stone. That's where it was done years ago.
So both ends are just the cement arch, right?
Yeah, just an arch
And
all
then
the way
the
through
cap
there.
is the big cement slab over the top of it.
You see that water over the years, eroded underneath that, and
All eroded under here.
yeah, it's all gone underneath there, isn't it? So, as you see, we do have a price.
So is this thing actually, I mean, I know the middle of it is cracked, right?
Oh, it's dropped down.
So the whole middle section is cracked or dropped down from same amount as what was shown on it, back
Yeah.
on where the slab is?
Yep. As you can see the oval going through there right now,
Yeah.
about a quarter way in or not quite halfway in, you can see that you've lost it, you got a flat area up on top there.
You talked about price. What, I don't have, do you have a sheet that says
I
price?
didn't scan that one,
You didn't?
no.
Well, the price to rebar that and re-pour it, and pour over the top of that, which would make that safe for many, many years, it would never move with rebar in it, is approximately, I'm gonna say 11,000. And to finish it, with re-graveling and pave it, you're probably gonna talk close to 15, 16,000 with your paving.
For a total of 15 and 16.
Yeah, I would say that.
And you're just really talking about paving over what you'd tear up to do
That's
the
all,
repair, right?
that's all.
Not gonna end up repaving the street.
Oh, no, 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 no.
Well, the other option is to do nothing, right?
Well, if you don't do anything, you're gonna have to keep the road closed.
That's right. If you do nothing, it becomes a one-way road.
What
I mean,
did
a-
FEMA say about it? What did that John say? That we can't do anything, even though it was destroyed during
I
the
had the
storm?
state out here and looked this over, he took pictures of it, he didn't see this. See, this wasn't dug out at the time.
So when FEMA comes on the 23rd, can we show?
Yes, yes.
All right,
So we're gonna
because
see if we can do something. I've been after town planner, to see if we could get some help from the state, and I've got no answer. This has definitely got to be, when that is dug out, and put a footing back underneath there, this will stay basically like it is. But it won't go no more. It won't be able to. Because it's gonna have a new footing underneath it, which it never had before. All it was, I would say, cement on stone or whatever. It looks good. So the 23rd, I'm gonna meet with FEMA. See what we can get. I can leave the road just the way it is right now. You know, we blocked it off completely. And it's dug out pretty much, so.
Yeah, let's see what they got.
Okay? That's all we can do for now. I can see if we can get some help from money.
Well, you know more now than the last visit, right?
Yeah.
And we probably know more now than what the state has looked at, so.
I bought that 6-foot culvert. I bought 40 feet of 6-foot culvert. But it's not a loss because we're gonna have to go in on the Hamilton Road and change that big culvert over there. Not right now, but it's gonna have to be done. Somebody's gonna have to do it.
Good. Anything else, Fred? Questions? Road reviews here. Any questions?
Just a comment on that, Mr. Chairman. Selectman Woodsman and I were invited down by the road commissioner, and we did an inspection down there, and it looks as though apparently that when that was straight across, when that cracked, it tipped down in the center. When it did, the weight on the far end of that over here, right in here, it dropped that wall that goes along here so that you can see that it actually caused some problems over here, the way that that piece dropped down. And I think that if we continue to leave it like it is and that drops more, it's just going to weaken this wall here to the point where we're going to end up having to replace that whole thing at some.
Well, this wall here, Gordon, should be formed up and re-poured, and put some rebar in there, drill in there, get some rebar to hold it. It definitely should be, because it will give out in time. The water's had a chance to come from here, back up underneath here, and it's done the same thing under here, way back here, that it's done under the basement. So,
Okay. Anything else? Thanks, Fred.
Roger. Did Roger, you want to speak, Roger, on the hearing of delegations?
My name's Roger Lozier, 24 Weber Road. I'm a potential bidder for the compactor at the transfer station. I'm a general contractor and I solicit bids from subcontractors. As indicated in your letter, I don't know if you want me to read it for the benefit of the public, is I'm thanking the board for the opportunity to bid the proposed work on the new compactor located at the town transfer station. In requesting prices from my subcontractors to complete a final bid for this work, I, along with my subs, have noticed several discrepancies between the plans submitted by Sebago Technics and the specs submitted by the town. In previous bidding processes that I've been participated in, it has been standard practice to invite potential bidders for a sidewalk sign a register listing all participating bidders, sharing that list via email with all bidders, and explain their participating trade or trades, describe to everyone at the site walk the exact nature of the project, and explain and answer any questions at that time, allowing everyone to bid exactly the same proposed work. The discrepancies have created a little bit of confusion between, I will call the town, the customer and the bidder, potentially causing bids submitted to not reflect the same specifications and work descriptions. For the sake of the town and everyone involved, I'm asking the board at this time to refuse any and/or reject any bids submitted tonight and allow enough time for the bidders to perform a site walk along with receiving the same specs and details of the work to be performed. And I guess the action taken this evening will be up to the Board of Selectmen, but this is my request as a general contractor who is overseeing and soliciting bids from excavators, concrete contractors, electricians, and the compactor itself and its installation. Any questions from the...
No, they're pretty self-explanatory, Roger. Thank you.
I appreciate you speaking, Roger.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
At this point, I'd like to disclose that Mr. Lozier contacted me last Friday and requested a meeting to discuss what he termed as irregularities in this. I conferred with the town administrator, who indicated that that would not be proper. I again spoke with Mr. Lozier on Saturday morning and told him that I would be unable to meet with him. At no time did Mr. Lozier attempt in any way whatsoever to try to influence my opinion or how I should cast my vote tonight, one way or the other.
Gentlemen? May I explain that? I asked a couple people in town hall whom I should confer with in reference to the situation. And being such a small board tonight, they recommended our selectman here, Gordon Littlefield, to confer with. The only reason I attempted to confer with him is not to influence in any way whatsoever any work being sent my way. It was to express to Gordon and show him the discrepancies in the plan and the specs, so that when he came to the board tonight and before the public, that he was able to explain publicly what I was referring to as discrepancy. And again, I will state there is no way whatsoever on my part any intent to influence Gordon or any other board member. Now, I was told by one city official that I couldn't do it because it was a public meeting. What constitutes a public meeting in this town? Isn't it 3 members or more? I came to Mr. Littlefield as a constituent, not a contractor, to have a question answered, and I was denied that. So I think the board, as a board and the representatives of the constituents of this town, I think that issue, above and beyond bids that are solicited and requested, that's an issue I think that should be explained and understood for everyone's understanding. So in the future, if I may at any time want to approach a board member, I am not, I won't say accused or implied that I am trying to set up an illegal meeting. I've been members of boards in other towns, surrounding towns in the past, and it was always 3 members. Whenever there's 3 members or more, it constitutes an illegal meeting. I know this is probably not touching directly what I came here for, but there's an explanation because of what Gordon just expressed. It was only a meeting as a constituent. Unfortunately, I'm also a general contractor who was bidding this project. It put me in a situation where I guess his refusal I'll accept, because it would have created some kind of, well, I don't know exactly what to call it, but in no way do I want myself or anyone else being implied that illegal meetings are taken on outside the meeting halls of town of Waterboro. Thank you.
Thanks, Roger. Just 2 cents, and we typically don't debate during hearing a delegation, but Roger's exactly right. In the state law, in this, with this municipality or any other municipality, any meeting of 3 or more board members would constitute a meeting, not necessarily illegal, a meeting if it's posted and made appropriately, okay? If you want to, any constituent wants to contact an individual board member, you certainly have the right. That board member also has the right to refuse to discuss a subject with you, should it be in and around bidding or projects that happen to be working on the town. That's their given choice. But they certainly can have that conversation with you if they're comfortable doing that. There's nothing that prohibits that. However, if you want to talk about a bid specification, that now gets a little sticky, right? So,
I understand.
so I don't think anybody's accusing anybody of doing anything wrong here other than, it happened, and we'll move on. Any other hearing delegation? All right. Correspondence, just quickly want to announce to everybody that we do have the Town of Waterboro Tax Club that is now a viable, if you are into paying certain things on a payment plan, be it a Christmas club or vacation club or whatever, you can now pay your taxes in the same manner. We do have a policy and procedure for that. Just come in and see the town clerk, the tax collector, and she can make the arrangements. There are some provisions that if payments are missed, et cetera, then, the club process kind of becomes null and void. But if you want a copy, I believe it's on the website, David? Not yet? We'll post this on the website for the actual application and the rules and regulations and et cetera, and we'll go from there. The other issue is just for everybody's information, the nomination papers for election of Charter Commission members at the November 2nd, 2010 general election will be available through the town clerk's office commencing Tuesday, August 10th. And the deadline for submitting nominations will be Tuesday, September 21st. Commission members' term will be for 1 year. 6 members will be elected. So there are 6 opportunities for you to be elected to the Charter Commission. I believe through that process, it's the top 6 vote getters, right? Dave?
I just wanted to correct myself, the tax form is available.
Okay, all right. So if you're interested in running for Charter Commission, it certainly is an interesting opportunity to get involved in the structure of the town and how the town is run, and a review of how the municipality's local laws govern what goes on in the community. And it would be a review, once you're on the Charter Commission, it's a review of that charter and a recommendation of, by the committee or the commission for changes, et cetera, which would then come back to the townspeople for an additional vote, so. Any other correspondence?
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to ask that the item under new business, item 2, be moved in the agenda up to under correspondence so that it coincides with the letter from Mr. Lozier.
Second.
They've been moved and seconded to move item 2, which is the vote to accept bids, up to item, I'm not sure we need to do 2 or 1. 1 we can deal with, I think. If you want to, my recommendation would be to move 1 up, and we deal with, do we or don't we open bids?
Okay, we'll move
Okay,
one up.
so you all set?
Second.
So, all those in favor of moving 1 up? All right. Based on some conversation that we've had here tonight, and I guess I would like Clint to come up for an explanation that would appear that sometime during this bid process, there was a change to the specification by our engineering firm, Sebago Techniques. Some, we believe, contractors got that specification that were interested in bidding, some did not, to the best of our ability, no. I guess the question that I have, Clint, is why in the 11th hour was Charlie and Sebago Techniques doing any changes to the
Well,
specification?
what Charlie told me, and Owens down there, this plan has everything everybody needs to know on there.
Okay,
There are a lot of laws that OSHA has. When they're putting that compactor in, they better be adhering to.
okay.
But it's not spelled out on this plan, such as controls, safety switches. That has to be on there. And if they're gonna put this in, they should know it.
So what did he do in the 11th hour?
In the 11th hour, was it 3 o'clock? Friday? We
The
got
11th, that
this.
qualifies for the 11th hour.
Close to. This is just an explanation. I've talked to him 3 or 4 times, and this is all the explanations, like on the hot top. I don't know why he put that in there, but it says it'll be finished, you know. There's actually 2 layers of hot top there, and we did not ask for that. But I think he's just taken clips from some other plan and just stuck them on this plan. So that clarifies
But
that.
did we ask him to do that?
What do you mean?
What stimulated him bringing an additional clarification or additional specs to the party, basically?
I called and asked him, you know, and talked with Nancy, she said, we better do something. So,
So I guess my put is why wouldn't we have suspended the bid process then until we could make sure that everybody had the same
well, I was
set
assuming
of
we were going to get
documents?
this letter long before we did.
So when did you call?
Huh?
When did you call Sebago Technics?
Well, I called him Thursday, but they would return the calls. You know, Wednesday, Thursday.
But when did we put this,
Fine.
when did we put the spec out?
Huh?
When did we announce the bids?
Well, way back 2 weeks ago.
Okay. So 2 weeks into this process, we made a decision to go ask for clarification from the town's
Right.
engineer. And the town's engineer certainly has given us clarification,
Right.
probably to the detriment of the price, whatever.
What prompted
But
the
what I'm trying to say is, last year, the last time we bid this out, he took that plan and he added a lot to it. There's been a lot more added to that, and a lot of the contractors have hollered about it. You know, like the steel, like the size of the footer.
Now, who asked that to be changed? Was that something that you requested?
No, nothing we asked to have changed.
This was something that he did on his own?
He did this on his own.
And
I've
my
got-
my understanding, it changed the footings from 5 feet to 9 feet.
That's right.
And increased the rebar from approximately $3,500 to
Right.
$17,000.
Yeah, you're right.
All right, so I guess, any other questions with Clint?
Well, it just upsets me. This is another faux pas, whatever you want to call it. And to have bids sent out and accepted, and then halfway through the process, ask for more advice, it irritates the hell out of me. And I apologize to all the contractors. This is totally unacceptable.
I thought we were well on our way to having a finished spec, and that's what I think both you and Nancy confirmed to us, and that's why it went out to bid, but it's very evident that that was not ready.
Well, Charlie, he did assure me that on this plan is everything that they needed to bid.
So we can have that discussion, but I think, given what we know, I think it's appropriate that we move, I guess I would accept the motion to table this and go through the bid process.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we reject all bids at this time, correction, that we table all bids at this time and give the bidders a 2-week extension to make any adjustments that are required based on the new information before we take any action.
I second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to table for, I'm not sure how we table the thing, but the recommendation is that, I guess we table the opening of bids for the transfer station, and then we'll deal with what we do with the bid timeframe, right? Because a table is a table, right? So I guess you're in favor of tabling the bids, opening the bids?
I'd also like to see, Dennis, that Roger's recommendation as far as a site walk and going through
So, how
the
about we offer
site.
this, we move to extend the bid process that was supposed to have ended tonight, all right, for a period of 2 weeks, and with the scheduled site walk with Charlie Brown present within the next, I guess, within this, sometime this week. That would be,
If we
I mean,
can
it-
get him out of here.
right,
I also think we need to go through that bid, the specs. And if we don't need 3 layers of hot top or whatever, take out what we don't need.
I asked Owen that question, and he said that whoever gets the bid, we could sit down and we can readjust this. All this can be readjusted,
we're
but
not gonna readjust anything before
No.
we vote. So I guess we've tabled the bids, the table, the opening of the bids. We'll have to deal with redoing the spec and going out from there. Roger, you had your hand up first, even though this is,
Yeah, it's not, one of my primary concerns is not just getting this bid. One of the major issues on this plan that is not indicated is an erosion control that could hold us liable with the DEP. The engineering company should provide an erosion control plan that should be in place if they choose to do so. Now, that's not something I'm saying has to be done, but if we are required to put an erosion control in place, there goes an additional cost. There's no breakdown of specifics for special lighting and so forth, which would take a bid from buying a $60, I mean, I'm going to explain this a little bit, a $60 big box security light versus that'll last 3 months versus a $200 lamp that will last you and not have to replace bulbs for a couple of years. One of my interests as a resident of this town and a taxpayer is to see that this gets expedited and executed in a proper fashion. The bids get solicited in a proper way, and being a contractor for 35 years, I have done many site walks and so forth. It eliminates the questions, a major of the questions. It would take a big burden, I think, off Clint's back to have to answer these questions. And I think at this time, I've asked him so many questions, he probably thought that I'd be nothing but a pain in the butt every time I showed up. But they were all pertinent to the opening of these bids tonight, and to give the town a fair shake as to what they're receiving for prices. When you see, for instance, today, my electrician looked at the job. He said, you don't have to do this. I can save the town half the money by doing it in this fashion. Is it on this plan? No. It was something because of his expertise he came and suggested. Now saving the town half the cost of no plan. That was one of my primary interests. I'm looking out for the benefit of this town because
let me,
that's part of my tax dollars.
just, and then I'm gonna get to Chris, but, you know, we hired Sebago Techniques to put this thing together, all right? I think what I'm somewhat distressed with, and I would agree with David, is that we were not ready to go out to bid, and we went out to bid. And then we asked Charlie to clarify some things, which changed a lot of issues in there. That, to me, is shame on us. And I would echo David's sentiments on that we owe an apology to anybody that bid. Relative to questioning the content of the engineer, another subject, okay? And that's really why Roger has a good idea of having site walks, because some of those things can come up during the pre-bid hearings, okay? And recommendations. So those are what that should be used for. Chris?
This reminds me a lot of the library roof shenanigans we had last year, where we had a couple bidders who were bidding two different things because the specs were drawn up wrong. I would ask that the board review the specs before they are sent out. More eyes on it, more ideas, make sure things are done right. We are embarrassing ourselves, and it's not just in the contractors in this town, there's contractors outside of town that are bidding on it too. And how much mud do we have to keep throwing in our faces ourselves? I feel good about having you guys look at those specs and making sure before those specs go out to bid that you are all on the same page about those specs, so that we're not throwing certain people under the bus, because I feel real bad about someone standing up there getting thrown under the bus, and it's not all on him. So I just would feel better about you guys reviewing them before they be sent out.
I think that's a good idea, but it'd be nice to really know the new specs are in, you know? This
Well,
is-
that's my point, though.
Yeah.
That's my point. There should have been
Point
new
well
specs.
taken. I think we understand it, so.
But you also, you gotta remember one thing, you know, if he starts drawing like what some of these contractors want, I don't know how much it's gonna cost. It's gonna be thousands.
But
To put all this detail down, I mean, when you go out and you have a compact to put in,
well, I don't think.
how do you run it if you don't have a switch to turn it on and off?
I don't think that anybody's suggesting that we.
Well, that's one of the
we
questions that was
embrace-
asked me.
But we embrace
No.
the contractor's feedback so that we increase the price. That's not, I mean, I think that certainly they have some input. When all's said and done, we hired an engineer to do this
Right.
job, all right? End of story, all right? When he's done, which appears that he wasn't done here, but when he's done and the package is ready, it should have gone out. And it's a package that we've already bid out once.
That's right.
Okay.
And that package that you bid out,
Yep.
he's changed it again,
All right, so,
all the specs.
so we have an issue that we need to deal with.
So what was gonna happen with the first package, is what I say, you know?
Well, I think the vote here tonight is we're gonna hand all these bids back to anybody that sent one in,
Okay.
and we'll determine what we're gonna do for the next round. So,
You know, I think we should have a discussion with Charlie too on
Yep.
why it's changed in the first bid. I just don't understand the whole deal.
So, we'll arrange something to get Charlie, you, and Nancy and the
Okay.
board all on the same page.
Fine.
Okay?
Seems in fairness to you though, Clint, that when you ask for clarification, you actually get a whole litany of things that you didn't ask for. You know, when we're talking in terms of extra rebar and extra cement and extra tar, this was something that
I think the answer was on that, like the rebar and the extras, that you're asking him to certify this. And he's gonna be darn sure of what he certified.
He's a PE, and his PE
Right.
is on that print right now.
Yeah,
Why
Okay.
why
I
was
agree.
it,
So
why
why
was
was
it good
it-
before, and then he changes it midstream and it isn't good now?
That's what I'm saying.
So we'll talk to Charlie.
Okay.
All right? Anything else that anybody has constructive? Other than if you want to take some,
I guess the only comment I made about OSHA compliance and everything else, it's obviously going to be a commercial electrician, and they're going to know the regulations that have changed in the last year or so.
yep. Roger, you had something else?
Yeah, I think the protocol, or the process should be, well, first of all, since most of us are involved in computers, we have email. I just participated in community development program rehab in Sanford. I paid for my plans, I paid for my spec book. I choose either to submit a bid or not. I get 50% of my money back if I don't. But at the meeting, there was a register that everyone who came as an electrician, a flooring company, whomever it may be, signs the register. We have our home address, phone numbers and so forth, email address. And within 2 days of the time that I submitted, got on the register, I received an email directly from Joan Hamilton, the architects handling the situation. That way it relieves the liability off you and the town or anyone else if it comes directly from the architect, directly to the subs. That way there, everybody gets it the same day, the same instant. I received mine yesterday afternoon. It gave me between yesterday afternoon and tonight to scurry back to my subs and get updated. What I was stressing is the email, the computer and the email system is so adequate. Let's use it. And I will donate some of my time to help you formulate the necessary process and procedure to solicit bids. Even though I want to bid the process, I, again, don't want to have any influence on you, but helpfully hold you by the hand, your select people, your, whatever your profession was. This has been my profession for 35 years. And because I'm a town, I live here and I want to participate, I'm willing to help the board and the town do this in a proper fashion, like Mr. Burnett said, not to get mud in our faces. So whatever I can do to help, I'm available.
All right, thanks, Roger. All right, we'll move on. No town administrators report, anything from the board? Economic development?
Nice to see you back in the saddle again, Dennis. It's like riding a bike, huh? All right, my name's Chris Burnett, Chairman of the Economic Development Committee. I'll be brief, hopefully. Our last two meetings, we haven't had enough people there on the committee to have an official meeting. So what we did was basically just have a little light discussion about some of the things, some ideas that we'd like to be talking about in the future. We initiated our first PO for the town signs. RSD Graphics has officially started the 3 larger signs. At our next meeting, we'll be organizing the logistics to get the signs up, specifically the DOT and placements of the sign, post and brackets for the signs, the excavation. Foglio Inc. is going to be donating a lot of their time to help us do the excavation for that, and gardens in the brick base for the signs. At our last meeting that didn't happen, we had Joe Wagner show up. I invited him to come in to our meeting to discuss some of the business climate in the area and making Maine work. Some of the things we discussed were employer taxes, lowering the matching taxes for employers, and the unemployment rates and the rise in those due to the economic climate we've endured over the last 2 years. We also spoke about energy and how we can conserve energy and some of the things that are coming down the pike through some of the energy companies in our state. Insurance for employers. And as Joe mentioned at the beginning of the meeting, there is a meeting this Thursday at the high school auditorium from 5 to 7 about insurance for employers. Another thing that we talked about was one of the Obama tax credits for employers. This tax credit gave employers who hired new employees who hadn't had a job in the previous 60 days from March 19th to the end of the year. It basically gave them a credit of not having to match their FICA and unemployment taxes
and taxes that they paid. So that was a great thing to kind of stimulate some employment. The problem that I had with it was, what about those employers who kept the employees on the payroll? There was no credit for them. So rather than have them, lay people off, they could have kept people employed. So, it was kind of like they did this credit, but it was only halfway done. Some other things that were discussed was the Maine workforce. In 2001, workers aged 55 to 64, there was 80,000 workers in the state of Maine. In 2009, there's 126,000 in that same age bracket. It's a 57% increase. Much of that can be attributed to the economic climate, the loss of 401ks, pensions, things like that, where older folks had to go back to work because they couldn't retire because of the decrease in the stock market. So there was some discussion about that and what can be done. I do want to end with, there was a comment made at a selectmen meeting about form-based codes. The comment was made that we're 10 years out on that. I would be very concerned about that. We wait 10 years for some kind of change to the codes in our town. If you're not careful, you're going to end up like Sanford Main Street, where you're going to just have a mess. So prior to expansion, and it is coming, we should really think about, it may not be form-based codes, that may not be the answer, but we need to think about how we are going to code our main streets. Because if we don't do something, we're going to have big companies come and scoop up large pieces of land, and before you know it, it's going to be a mess. So I think that we should not ignore that part of our planning. And I think that it was brushed to the side and not understood completely before making a concrete decision. So I encourage our planning board and our board of selectmen to take another close look at our form-based coding. If you don't completely understand it, I would be more than happy to sit down and go over stuff with any of you. There is a CD out in town. Please watch it. If you don't know what I'm talking about and you're sitting here or you're out there, ask me for it, ask the town planner for it, and take a look at it. I think you'll like it. So, you go downtown, if any of you have been downtown in Naples, that's form-based code. Drive through Naples. That is a nice town. Drive through some smaller towns, Harrison, form-based coding. Some of those towns around the Lake region, Bridgeton, form-based coding. Look, it's beautiful. You can park on the side of the road and you can walk through Main Street. You can visit all of these stores on the main street. You don't have to worry about dodging cars. For crying out loud, I crossed the street from my office to Lakeside and it's a death trap. It's like Frogger out there. That won't happen. Form-based codes will take care of that. When you allow parking on the side of the road and you build roads to have that kind of parking, it naturally slows the traffic down. Think about it when you're driving, when you come into a town and there's parking on the side of the road and there's people moving around, it's the instinctive thing that you do. You hit your brake. So let's not give up on that. So that's pretty much all I wanted to say, and if there's any questions, I open that up to the board.
Comments? Questions?
Okay.
Anybody else?
Sure, a quick comment, because I think I really made the comment about form-based code, and I don't think it got dismissed. I think it was literally pushed out 10 years. Planning board has got the book, we're doing the reading. I've been to Standards, I've talked to them up there, they haven't implemented theirs yet. And I said, with our infrastructure, with our AutoCAD and our lack of AutoCAD, lack of expertise, and lack of money, I thought it was 10 years out before we had any chance of doing it. We need a comprehensive plan and a new charter change first,
No.
and then a master plan.
And there's no doubt that might be true, that we need those things. But 10 years from now, Think about 10 years prior to this. Was that Hannaford there? Was Dunkin' Donuts here? Were those businesses here? Think about 10 years now, go forward. If we're not careful, it'll be a mess before we can do anything about it. So I
Well,
just want
some would argue that it's not a mess just because Hannaford and Dunkin' Donuts are here.
I didn't say it's a mess. I didn't say that. I said if we're not careful, it could become a mess. So I drive through Sanford and I hate to drive through that town.
10 years from now, he may not be pumping gas, he may be servicing electric vehicles, you know. A lot of things.
Not with the price of electricity in the state of Maine.
That's true.
That is true. Thank you.
Probably wind
Thank you,
power.
Chris.
Not with the price of electricity in the state of Maine. All right, under new business, I guess 1 and 2 are done. Discuss vote to accept resignation from the 2020 Comprehensive Plan Committee. I think it's in your packet.
I didn't see it.
You got it?
What is it?
So we have a letter of resignation from Diane Holden from the 2020 Master Planning Committee. What is your pleasure?
Move accepted with regrets.
Moved by David.
I'd second that with reluctance, but
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you. Public service announcements policy on lobby monitors. I kind of threw this question back a couple of weeks ago on David. It's been discussed, brought to my attention, and certainly I'm sure discussed in the various sectors of town of what is on the monitors when you come in. And this specifically had to do with rabies clinics and where we drive, or at least the perception is that the town is recommending that you go to this clinic or that clinic or whatever. I'm not sure that it gets that or is that complicated, but the question really arrives is when we're putting stuff on that monitor, what are we making a determination of whether that could or could not be perceived as us endorsing a particular business. I just used the rabies clinic because that's the one that was really brought up. And I think, with all due respect to the town clerk at the time, it was, well, there's a clinic going on, I'm going to put it up that, hey, you can go get your, and I don't see anything wrong with that, but I think what we need to be cautious of is that we're not very specific to any one. If there's multiple clinics, then I think you list multiple.
That's the problem.
Right,
is the
and I
number.
understand that, but there are other alternatives. You don't have to go to a clinic. You can go to a veterinarian service,
She
right?
was looking to assist those lower income people.
And I'm not sure that we need a policy. I just wanted to bring the issue up because it was brought up to me. And I think we just need to be somewhat cognizant of what goes on there is with the understanding that it could be perceived as that we're out sponsoring or endorsing or et cetera to a particular business that didn't even happen to be in town, but which was the other issue.
Could I ask a question? Then next month is preparedness month.
Yep.
So if I brought in a PSA for every single day, could we put up something on preparedness?
Yeah, I don't think that
So
there's
that would
I don't think there's an issue with what the content of it is. It's really public service announcements
So
for,
it's good stuff.
to benefit the
Everybody.
people of the town of Waterboro. And a rabies clinic is something that would benefit the people of the town of Waterboro, all right? If it is just done as that, okay, that's one thing. Now, I think that there's certain vet clinics around that will not run rabies clinics because there are other issues that they want to prepare for and look at animals for and those kind of things. So that's that decision, okay? But if there are animal or vet centers or whatever that run clinics, then, or if we're going to list them, we should list the alternatives. You can go to this day clinic, or you can do these other things, right? But our interest is, you need to get a rabies shot for your animal, and you need to register the animal in the town of Waterboro, which is state law. So, at least dogs. I'm not quite sure why we've never done cats, but.
I think we do.
So anyway, I think that's the only thing, and I think that's kind of, we've had that discussion around with everybody, so that, make sure that we just are aware of it. And I think really Dave is the guy that puts them on, so Dave should ask that question, I guess. It's like the newspaper test, right? Does it pass the newspaper?
I'm not aware of it, but is there a disclaimer anywhere on there that this is solely for informational purposes and it's not an endorsement?
Not on the PSAs. We can do that, though.
Yeah, that might clarify everything.
I do have one on the website, just in case, prices haven't been updated or something like that, but we'll add them to that.
All right, don't need to belabor that anymore. Old business, discuss a vote, collection of personal property taxes. Jerry is back again, and we've kind of made this into a major project. And I think, did you provide, or somebody provided
I provided the packet.
on...
General information on
right.
Statements of claim and how to proceed.
And I think, there's probably a couple of things that we can do. There's a lot of money out there that we have not collected, and we need to move forward with doing something. If you want to wait until next week, we can do that.
I would make a motion that we table it because we just got the Susan Swed information tonight, and it's rather lengthy, and we haven't had the opportunity to, really read it through and, understand it completely. So just based on that, I'd rather be, if I make a decision, I want to rather have it informed.
Second.
Okay. All those in favor of table till next week? So that'll go on, have to discuss that with Amy Jo, so it goes on next week. All right, Old Alfred Road improvement plans as presented by the road committee. We apologize for keeping you here this long. Could have put you on first, but, yeah, you have anything else to do tonight, right?
I want to thank everybody on the road committee for participating and doing everything they have done. Also, Mr. Foglio isn't present, but I want to also make sure that he gets thanked for his assistance. The road committee was asked to look into solutions to the water pooling and drainage issues affecting the residents of that said area. On July 27th, the road review committee met with Mr. Doug Foglio, a local area professional, to discuss possible solutions for drainage. Mr. Foglio had already worked with Sebago Tech Engineering, offering possible solutions for drainage should the Safe Routes to School program project become a fruition. Unfortunately for the town, the project was defeated. Should the project have actually materialized, the town would have been able to have most of the drainage issues taken care of due to the requirements mandated by the sheer scope of the SRTS project for free, other than seed money that we would have found to get into it. That did not occur, but Mr. Foglio did have valuable information as he had worked with them, and he wanted to help the town save money by assisting the road review committee. We actually performed site walks of the areas, measuring distances, and also utilized laser levels to determine the elevations on Hemlock Ave, the source of the majority of the pooling water. I will let Scott Ullman, one of our own local professionals as well, to explain the mathematics and determinations we came up with shortly. The Road Review Committee recommends that our research and possible solutions be acted upon very soon to keep from having problems getting this done due to the seasons changing and the problems involved as a result. The Road Review Committee, along with assistance from Road Review Committee members and Mr. Foglio, have provided a breakdown of the estimated costs, including contingency fees. The committee also feels that in order to move the water from Hemlock out of the area means Phase 1, which will be explained shortly, is a priority. Without underground drainage, catch basin systems, ditching alone will not solve the issues on Hemlock. We have come up with very workable figures that, if put out for bid, would certainly guarantee we would not be able to afford doing it. Whereas we have a figure that would help solve this issue and still leave us monies for other ditching projects. That's all I have right now. I'm going to turn Scott over to explain to you a little bit more about what we have actually done.
Thank you, Jim. I'm going to lay this out for you guys to look at. It's more technical and really needs to be explained right now. Doug took some tax maps that we have currently. They're not to scale, but we pieced them together. What this shows is a start point and end point, and you can look at this map a lot easier.
It's on the screen now, too.
It is on the screen.
You want the
Okay.
pointer?
Well, no, I like this one better. What we're having is a significant ponding problem right here. We're not gonna blame any source on that. However, the town owns out behind the baseball field, we all know. There's a discrepancy in this back property line that we need to research before we continue any further, and we do have the opportunity to do so. What Doug has done for us has laid out a phase here, which is 1,240 feet plus or minus to this point of the intersection of Oak Street and Hemlock. We've got this written down in 2 phases because Doug had only gone to this point prior to meeting with us in the Rotary Committee and actually being able to shoot elevations from here to here to the source of the problem. So we've got figures based on the first phase and the second phase, but I want you to keep in mind that in order for this program to work, we need to get to this point, the source of the problem. What it is basically is a 15-inch end drain pipe with an outfall area here being the lowest elevation. From here to here is about 1,240 feet with an additional 470 feet to a proposed fabric-lined stone basin. We're dealing with a pitch that's very, very minimal. It's 0.025 tenths per foot, which is equivalent of about 3 inches in 1,000 feet. So collectively, we've got 6 inches plus or minus to get from that point to that point. It can be done. However, we've got a price based on going from here to here as a phase 1, which we've got a breakdown of, and then from here to here. We've added costs in our proposal to get to this point, including an open ditch from here to here. From getting to this point to here, we can save some money by going to what we call a Vermont cleanout, which the problem with Vermont cleanout versus a catch basin is a catch basin has a structural integrity to it. You can drive on it, whereas a Vermont cleanout has no structural integrity. It has to be off from the beaten path, so to speak, so it can't be damaged or destroyed by traffic, which we can hopefully avoid. So if you look at the figures that we've got 5 catch basins to here. The catch basins, the pipe, the stone, trucking, everything involved is in the vicinity of $35,000, with an additional $7,300 to get to the source of the problem. We propose to pay for this through our capital improvement budget, which is in the vicinity of $40,000 we would expect to take from that. The additional money to take from the regular ditching program to open this ditch line up from this proposed point, the high point of the road, back towards the area that's ponding, so that road can be cut back, the stumps be removed, and we can run an open ditch back to that point. The elevation, believe it or not, does work, but it's very, very minimal. Any questions?
Yeah, so what you're talking about is ditching up or in a westerly direction on Hemlock, right?
An open ditch, correct.
Right. So what is that, just so that everybody's on the same page, that has some effect on the properties that are on Hemlock, right?
Actually, no, the
Actually,
open,
no, because we're going off the right of way of the roadway, which gives you 50 feet from the center, well, whatever.
Okay,
the
but
measurement is.
but given what they have today, they have no ditch in front of their house, right?
Actually, the side of the ditch, there's actually no houses from probably
Okay,
this
from
point
on the-
halfway down.
Right, on the long end
On
down,
the
right?
school
that's
side.
correct, that's the only place to be an open ditch.
So all I want to make sure is if we were to say, okay, we're going to move forward, there's the 2 houses that are there, right, 2?
Yeah, we'd be way beyond them with that open ditch.
Exactly.
So what do you do in front of those houses?
Well, the drainage would be installed with that
Okay, so
either catch basin or
What
cleanout.
I'm just trying to get to, Scott, is we're not taking 30 feet of their lawns, right?
No, once this is installed,
Okay,
it'll all
so-
be reclaimed and put back to its original state.
Because that, I think, is what a lot of people don't understand or didn't when we went down there years ago was, you know, a ditch only gets done if you open it up, right? You know, so.
Right,
there's-
and again, this is a very, very small scope compared to the issues everywhere else. This is an actual asset we're gonna put into the ground to stop this ponding. And keep in mind, this is not a foolproof plan. We have an incredible surge this spring, obviously, that we hadn't experienced in a while. This is not, I shouldn't say it's not gonna work, but if we get a surge like that again, there's nothing to say that this will not eliminate the water, the flooding. However, it will rescind quicker than it did in the past. So don't think because we install this that there's not still potential flooding problems, because we cannot control the source of the water. All we can do is give a conduit from where we potentially own to where we still own here. And again, I have an open outfall area here because we need to make sure that we dump that water onto our property. If we can verify the property lines or get an easement to that effect, then maybe we can discharge that water even further away. But the biggest point being is that this is, you know, it's an installed conduit to get rid of that ponding, but in the event that we have another major flood, we can't control the source. All we can do is get rid of what we can actually collect.
And it's exactly pretty much what the residents are asking us to do, is come up with a solution, because they were asking if we can get fire hoses or something happen, et cetera, et cetera. And we can't control Mother Nature, that's obvious. But we can try to make this work.
Go ahead.
It's, 15 inches, I'm surprised it's that small.
If you actually do the math on how much a 15-inch pipe will conduct, it's an incredible amount of water. We do have the option of going to an 18-inch. However, when we go to an 18-inch pipe, keep in mind that, like Doug explained, that we should have exactly that same amount, that full 18 inches. If you take the overall diameter, it's about a 22-inch pipe. We need that much cover above it. We don't have the elevation. That's why we're trying to choke the pipe size down a little bit.
Okay.
So potentially,
The elevation we don't have is really in this area, correct?
right, that pipe right there, the invert, the actual bottom of the pipe, the water's going to run, it's only going to be about 3 feet below the top of that road right there. We're very, very limited to elevation, but the math does work in our favor to get rid of that water.
I'm pleased at the cost.
Keep in mind, that's a cost in-house. That's not a bid process.
I know,
That's
I
us
know.
doing the best we can with what we've got to work with. That's local assets, that's town assets.
Yeah, that's exactly
You can
it.
throw a figure at this of an average of $50 a foot on pipe. You go 1,200 feet, that's 60 grand. That's give and take 10% plus or minus, and an additional, 400 and something feet, another 20 grand or so. Keep that in mind.
It really costs a lot, so, I mean, that's why getting the guys all together is really a plus, I think.
Yeah, and I don't think, because there's been a lot of people that have been on this board or other boards, like finance committees, that get kind of criticized for always whacking the road review committee, but I think that the real issue is that you've got a plan, you've got what it takes to go execute the plan, and I think that's really what anybody's really looking for, right? So, and I think you guys have done a great job, put a lot of time and effort in it, not just this year, but I think a lot of people have watched that down there, and I know Doug took a kind of a personal interest in watching water flows back when the water was up around everybody's necks there in that area.
The committee would just like to stress that we should act upon this quickly.
Yes.
The longer we wait, the more potential it's gonna cost more, and won't be able to do it.
On the back side of Friendship Park, the easement on property line, what's that going to involve? How much time?
Well, we believe we're going to verify the property lines based on our tax maps, but we believe that we can distribute that water on our own property. I mean, it's the best we can do. Once we get to that point, it would be opened up wide, and there'd be erosion control in place to stop any sediment.
My guess, my recollection is the back property line at one time was wrong, right? And was it Kimball's?
That's correct.
that owns,
There's
right.
two different variations.
We went through that pretty detailed, and there was actually what we thought was our land was theirs, what they thought was theirs was ours, and that was all, and this is going back to mid-90s sometime.
There's an intersection there.
Right.
It's plus or
was-
minus
this
20
was-
feet.
This was straightened all out, so that tax map should be fairly accurate. Because I think it was all straightened out with Sebago, and they've been doing a tax map, so. Not to say that it is, but it wouldn't take Charlie too long to go back down in there and determine where that line is.
And that's, we get all the
Fred?
maps on the same scale.
One thing you don't want to be afraid of is these burn out cleanups, because along the edge of Osprey Hill Road, there's probably close to a half a dozen that were put in years ago, the drains. And if we could put one in down there, possibly two, it would help cut the cost. The idea it is to keep it away from where anybody's going to be going over.
Okay, so what do you guys need from us?
The green flag. Got a majority board right here, we give you on-site Monday.
We know the other two members are for it.
Never speak for anybody that's not at the table. Any,
Freddie, are you bringing that up to the...
any discussion?
What's that?
The FEMA guy for project on the 23rd?
Well, we could.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Pam, is to at least, you know, we've got it laid out for what it is, you've got it priced out, get the FEMA people down there and look at it as a mitigation project, and, you know, anything that they can come up with would help.
Can we get involved with that?
Dennis,
Yes, sir.
remember when Charlie Brown put that line, surveyed that line? I mean, he should have maps of that.
That's what I'm saying, is that wasn't that long, well, it was a while ago, but it wasn't that
Yeah.
long. It wasn't like it was back in the Stone Age.
See, it shows on the tax maps, it shows two different property lines. We're not sure which one is the right one. That's what we've got to find out is on the tax maps, which one is the actual property line.
There, somewhere in this town office, there is, well, Charlie might have it, an engineered drawing that shows, or a survey that shows that lot on Friendship Park and where it is. Now, whether that's fully depicted on the tax map or not, I'm not sure.
On our price breakdown as well, there's some contingencies there that I guess average, project inflations. However, if we can get away with cutting back on some pipe on the backside and going to that Vermont cleanup, we can save a considerable amount of money and keep this,
Under the amount.
keep it under, a significant amount.
All right, what did I hear Pam say, is it the 23rd?
When the FEMA guy will be here, yes. Now, we don't want to intimidate him, but at least let Fred and maybe the
So
road-
is this something we need to wait until we,
No, actually, there's a meeting Tuesday at 1 o'clock in my office. We're working on the Waterboro annex to the county hazard mitigation plan. And Dennis, I think you were on the email because it came from Southern Maine Regional Planning Commission. And I just said I was going to have Bob Bowman, myself, hopefully Fred, Nancy. And again, it's 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so I understand where you can't be there unless you want to. But I just want to talk about having a plan so that I can come up with projects that I want to include in the hazard mitigation plan for the future. Now, we can add these, if they get the plan done by the end of August, and we can say these are on, these are part of our pending plans, and then still talk to them on the 23rd. It's just that I want both of them, and any other road that really needs to be added to the plan.
That shouldn't be, we shouldn't hold anything up. Rob,
No,
with that. I
absolutely
think we
not.
can-
We're just
you know,
hoping that,
I
and just
think
keep track of time, because we also can use in-time cost, so the time that the road review committee, we might be able to use that as our match.
Yep.
And also keep in mind that if we can get this started soon, what was the time frame roughly, like 5 days?
5 days on phase 1, 2 days on phase 2, so a week.
So it's a week.
Well, we have 7 working days.
But what we want to do is we want to get started while it's dry and the water table is low. Because a lot of this ditching, we got to get down, we're not sure how far we're going to get down before we
We
might
get
get
water.
Paul?
I was sitting home watching this thing on TV, and I just had to come over here. I didn't want to, because usually when I do, I get in trouble. But I'll tell you right now, I worked in that project 30-some years ago. I worked on every house in there. And when we built those houses, we never dug one foundation. We scraped the top off. Bob Abbott came in after the foundation was in, filled all, you drive through the house up here, house up there, house up here, house up. You don't see one at ground level, all up high. That was a wetland when we started. You compounded it when you put the school in. Now you're dumping water off that school parking lot and all of those school buildings behind that Oak Street and Hemlock. The only solution to that problem is to get a retention pond behind the school and behind Oak Street. If you try to dig across the street, you're not going to get enough water movement in a bad storm to do any good. If you don't dig a retention pond behind Oak Street and Hemlock, which will take care of the school and Oak Street, and the end of Oak Street and Hemlock, which will move some of that water away from it. And if you think you got a problem now, where do you put the library in there? You're going to get another parking lot to dump more water into that same area. You need to have a retention pond. Florida does it all the time. You'll see 2 or 3 on one street sometimes. You have to have a place for the water to go and dissipate gradually. If you don't do it, you can dig all the goddamn ditches you want, but it's not going to do a thing. It's just, if you don't have a good runoff, if you've only got 10 or 15% runoff, it's not enough. It's going to plug up. You're going to have problems. You're going to devote $40,000 into something that's not going to work for a month. If you get a hard rain, it's going to plug up. It's not going to run off fast enough. You need to get a retention pond in there. You need to get the water moving to the back of the property. And a lot of that water that's coming off parking lots, we got oil in it and all kinds of other problems. You start running that towards any tributaries, and you're going to have problems with DEP, and you're going to have problems with water quality and all kinds of other problems because it's oil. And let me tell you right now, they even have retention ponds in shopping centers because they have so much water, and they don't have any. They have a high water table. Oak Street's always had a low water table. I mean, the street was bad when we did it. That was 30-some years ago. And it's never going to change because it had no height. The houses are fine because they built on top of the ground. Bob Abbott hauled in thousands and thousands and thousands of yards in there. We never dug one foundation. Scrape the top off, put the footing in, bury it. You know? And I don't even know why these septic systems even work this long. I mean, it's terrible. You know? It's terrible. And if you keep putting developments in there, you're going to be dumping money, good money after bad, for years and years and years until you get this thing figured out. You can get all the engineers you want in there, but if that water hasn't got a place to go and go quickly, you're in serious trouble. Really. I mean, I'm not a digger man, but I've been around for a long time, and I've done a lot of work in here. I've done a lot of work in Florida. I've done a lot of work in New Hampshire, Massachusetts, and I'll tell you right now, I've seen a lot of stuff. And running that water out with that little bit of a pitch that you're going to get from Oak Street across into the ballpark area or whatever the hell they're going with it, if it hasn't got enough of a pitch and a place to go, you're going to be in serious trouble. You're going to be spending good money after bad.
Okay. Thank you, Paul.
We can respond to that. We did discuss the potential of retention ponds. We don't own land. That creates another whole issue. What we did was come up with the best solution what we had to work with.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, certainly I can recall, certainly the arguments back in the late 70s that when we put $60,000 worth of ditching in there that it wouldn't help, but on Oak Street and whatnot, it really did alleviate a lot of those problems up until the point where then Hemlock and all of that other stuff went over there. And I don't think anybody disagrees, Paul, that we know that there's certainly an additional issue with the school being there, and the school certainly has stormwater drainage plans, and they've got a couple of ponds themselves to manage that stormwater. The issue is really what's coming off the rest of that property, and we've done away with a fairly significant sinkhole when we put the school in there. So, we've got today a whole bunch of residences that are experiencing not only the flooding issue, that's one thing, but we're artificially keeping the water table up too. So I think if anything that we can do to help start to drain some of that out of there, and it may not be the perfect pitch, but
Yes, that was
I
something.
think there comes a point where you gotta do something. Fred?
Has anything been done, or thoughts gone into running that water from 202 up through there?
There's been some discussions. In fact, I believe that there is an effort to get
Federal help?
the local people with the water. We've had one meeting with the water district trustees and the residents, although very few showed up, the residents down there, about the potential of what it would take to put some public water in that area. I think, in fact, Pam just notified us today that Steve Levy from Maine Rural Water would like to meet, or we've actually trying to get him down, because I think he can at least come up with some opportunity for, there's got to be a look-see at all of that property to see if, just what the groundwater, drinking groundwater issues are. And I think that he is, well, he's Maine Rural Water Association, that's their business. So the intent is to get him down here to see if he could come up with some possibility of exploring if there is some funding to expand the water system. Because the water system's at that school right now. Right? I mean,
There's a possibility, if you can get this water out of there, that it could help their drinking water problems too.
Paul?
When I was working in there years ago, septic systems were going in, and points were going in 10 to 12 feet away from it. There wasn't no 100 feet. They may have, I don't know how they ever documented any of that, but I can tell you right now, I know that some of those points that went in there for those people for drinking water were not more than 10 or 15 feet from the next guy's septic system. And that happened in probably 20 to 30% at least of all of the houses in there. One of them was so close, I couldn't believe it. I was watching them put the tank in, this guy's overdriving the point, and it wasn't from me to you. So when this guy's going to the bathroom, this guy's drinking it, okay? And that happened a lot in there. I mean, a lot of those went 20 feet, 30 feet, you know? So over the years, that has to be a problem. You know, they weren't drilling wells where they were down 100 feet. They were points.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine how bad the water really is. I mean, you know, over these many years, I mean, the ground has to be saturated at this point, and you know, I'm sure the water quality is not the greatest.
Okay, anything else? What's the pleasure of the board?
Well, I make a motion, we accept the road review's proposal. I think it's a good first step and a very reasonable figure. I appreciate the work they've done.
Wood?
I'll second it. I think that the key point is it's a good first step, and there may be some point in the future that we could acquire certain properties that we may be able to incorporate some type of retention pond in that area. But I think that there is certainly an immediacy that has to take place to get some of these problems corrected right away before the weather turns against us.
Anything else? All those in favor? Opposed? Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time and efforts.
Thank you. Thank you.
Make sure that we get, Scott, you and Jimmy are gonna get with Pam relative to meeting with the FEMA guys?
That's correct.
All right. Last item here is map 41, lot 13. got a visual.
Okay, this has been on our agenda for several months now, and how it started, there's a lot of speculation about it, whether or not there were some people in the area that mentioned it to someone, who mentioned it to someone else, but it eventually was brought up to Mr. Bob Gobiel, who was the director of Parks and Recreation at one time, and had some money from his budget allotted to survey a certain parcel of land known as map 41 lot 13 in the town. Now when you review, one of the things that I had problems with was sometimes when you look at something, as I did the deeds, you sort of lose sight of the smallest detail which could come about. Now if you'll notice in there, there's actually a face in there. But you get a little bit convoluted with everything else, but if you happen to notice right down here, there's the gentleman's face. Well, I use this analogy because when reviewing all the deeds and so forth for this property, I got encumbered by the northwesterly this and southwesterly that, and so many degrees here and degrees there, that it was very, very confusing. To make a long story short on this, which is probably too late now, I really only needed one figure, and that was 75 feet. And I'll begin to show you how that comes into play right now. This is the piece of property that we're talking about, and this is actually a photograph from many years ago that shows that the fence is not necessarily a new thing that's gone up there, that Mr. Grimes and his family were basically forced into putting the fence up, and that will become more evident as we go later on. Again, this is another view of that point. This is looking back towards where the dam is, and this is a picture, we believe it's dated 1946. The reason that the Grimes put the fence up, which I guess started the controversy, is because of this right here. This is what they were faced with when they came up. People were traveling over this property as if they had a right to do so, and they were just tearing it up. There was a lot of trash and everything that was taking place on their property. This right here is the fence as we know it today, and this is the dam right here. Now the distance that I'm talking about, this 75 feet, is the distance that the town owns from the center of the dam. So from this center point here back to a point approximately right here where there's a pin, the fence is actually in Mr. Grimes' property, so that he doesn't have to trespass on municipal land in order to perform maintenance on the end of his fence. Unfortunately, photography being what it is, you don't get the proper sense of distance right here, but this is measured distance. Selectman Daigle and myself went down there and physically measured this out. And I also had a site walk with Mr. Gobiel down there, and when he viewed everything and saw what we were discussing, his memory was refreshed so that his recollection of this particular piece here is exactly what he believed it to be 20 years ago. This is another photograph that you can see the edge of the dam right here, and it's looking back towards the fence. Now you can see this has grown up considerably in here, so you can't adequately see exactly where the end of the fencing is. Part of the confusion about a right-of-way across this property that some people thought that they were entitled to is kind of compounded by two things. First of all, between this marker right here and the edge of Mr. Grimes' fence, there is I believe it's 35 feet across here, that's a parcel of land that extends down to the water that is specifically for use of emergency vehicles. And they specifically listed in the deed as for fire department vehicles to get down there to get water. And I presume that this, or they presume that this was done around the time of the fire in 47 to ensure that the fire department would have a place to go to load up their tankers and so forth. There's a second right-of-way, which is just inside this fence, called the walking right-of-way, and that is in the deed solely for the purpose of the person that lives next door to Mr. Grimes. And it's clarified in the deed that was extended by Mrs. Davis, because Dr. Davis originally owned all this property. And that is so that that property next to Mr. Grimes will have a foot passage access to the lake. And it specifically prohibits any motorized vehicles and anything like that. So that the misnomer here is that there is no public right-of-way across Mr. Grimes' property to the lake. Now we can see on this aerial map here from Maine GIS and Google, they have a scale measuring device on there. So this particular point right here is the center of the dam and extended back 75 feet, which is what the deed says. You can see where that end of that is right there. Now there are some that believe that it should go back to this point here, but it isn't. It's not supported by any of the deeds whatsoever, nor is it supported by the memory that Mr. Gobiel has after having viewed the area down there. Again, we look at it here. This pin shows where the dam is, and this pin shows where the survey marker is, and this distance is 75 feet. This is the property of Mr. Grimes right here. This is the next door neighbor of Mr. Grimes who has that walk right of way along this area right here. Okay, this yellow line is a distance of 80 feet. I actually did 85, but the town tax map shows it to be 80 feet that extends along the water line. So it forms basically a very small triangle in this piece here that the town owns that actually would be a right-of-way to the lake, but it's steep and it's encumbered by a set of guardrails there. Again, that's that piece right there. Now this you can see, this is from the opposite side. This is the dam right here, and 75 feet over, you can almost see the end of that fence except for the growth right here. This is the portion here that the town owns. Mr. Grimes has never laid claim to this particular parcel in here, and his deeds and the two surveying jobs that he's had done on this don't support any claim whatsoever to this portion right here. This land, again, was originally owned by the Davises. The Davises allowed Central Maine Power, by virtue of $1, to use this particular property when they created the dam there. And at some point subsequent in time, it was deeded over to the town. And the land to the right of this that you don't see on this was property that Chandler Holmes had. That you're familiar there. He was a minister. It's now owned by another family.
How much property, this has nothing to do with Grimes, but how much is on the right side of that last, opposite the Grimes? How far away?
I didn't research that particular point because that wasn't in question. It was just that small triangular piece there, and it only boils down to, I think it's, we looked at the town tax maps, and it's 0.03% of an acre. This is a very, very small piece in there, so, yes,
I understand it's 15 feet on the other side of the dam.
oh, 15 feet, okay.
That's what the way I understand it.
So based on this, I'm making a motion at this time that this matter be closed, that no further action is necessary by the board, that Mr. Grimes owns what he says he owns, and the town owns what we own.
I second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Just as a point of record, I guess. It's really not taking a... All right. Anything else?
Dennis, can I ask a question?
Sure can.
Lately in the paper, I've been reading about the new library, and of course I'm for a new library, but all of a sudden it's being coupled with community center. Now, I guess I just want to know, before we get ourselves into hot water down the road, which we seem to do lately,
Without even trying.
Without trying. Is it a Waterboro Public Library and community center? Is that what this new building is?
I believe you should have a discussion with Jack
Okay.
Siri, but I believe as they've moved forward looking for federal funding, that there has been a slight change in the quote-unquote definition of
What the people,
what, I mean, certainly the intent is that it's a Waterboro Public Library, but I would suggest you just talk to Jack, because I think that it is also being referred to as a community center, okay? But I believe that they would tell you the primary use certainly is going to be the library, but it is a center.
well, the reason I'm saying that is having dealt with federal funding forever and listening the past couple of weeks, just things that we need to think about now before it goes to referendum.
Yep.
Is the library or the librarian going to be in charge of the community center part? What will be the hours? Again, who's going to pay for the electricity? Who's going to clean it? Who is going, and I realize that, I'm talking before anything has been done yet, but my problem is I'm already hearing things on the street about, well, you can rent it for $50, you can do this. And as a federal bond to pay for the building, it's my understanding you can't rent it out because the citizens of Waterboro are already paying for it. So I think before we even start saying, well, we can use it for fundraising.
Those are all good questions, all should be
Bring them to
addressed
Jack? Okay.
to the
Okay.
and what we have tentatively agreed to as a board is that we would endorse a referendum question, okay, on the ballot in November. And all of the things that go along with that really become the issue of, the friends and...
All right.
Now,
Well,
we've asked that question. I believe a lot of that has been provided information with regard to the cost of operating a center that is significantly bigger than what we have today. So the annual operating cost is going to change naturally.
Absolutely.
So that's all good questions need to be addressed. And you're right, before people go in and cast a vote in November, they should have answers to those.
Okay. All right, Alana, thank you.
Anything else? Okay, warrants and bills of payroll?
So moved.
All those in favor? Minutes of 7:13? Oh, we don't have yet, never mind. Any pending decisions? No. Wheat action. I guess Clint, you're gonna get with, Nancy's out, right, all week? We need to somehow wrestle this thing to conclusion so that we know that, and it may very well be that the bid specs that are there, now enhanced by what Charlie has done, is what's gotta go out, but I would hope that we would have some discussion relative to the content of that. So I guess if nothing else, we'd ask that you kind of bring that, get whatever information you can and bring that to Nancy the start of next week so that we can have the discussion next week at our meeting, so.
Should Charlie be contacted and see if we can't set up a date
Yeah, I
for
mean,
a sidewalk?
even if it's a separate meeting with you know, whoever happens to be around, if it's you and Gordon and Clint and Nancy or whatever, I think that should be, there should be a sit down with Charlie and a couple of members of the board and the administrator. So, you'll take that action? Agenda items, Pam, I would presume that Jamie Joe will give you a call on Friday, I'm not sure, but I think you probably got most of everything that's on next week. Anyway, we're gonna bring back the property tax discussion. And what else? I think that was it, right? And whatever transpires with Charlie.
We discussed, the Mary Ross is going to be coming up in a couple of weeks. Is that right?
RSU 57, usually it's Lisa Faith that comes.
Somebody.
Yep.
Do we want to have some kind of a discussion with them on recycling and cost and stuff like that?
Yeah, I think that would be I think it'd be worthwhile to get, I know Mary is on the finance committee, right? Would be, and it would be good to get the three of them to sit down and go with the transfer station committee.
Okay.
And go through those things.
Okay.
Right?
If you want, David, we can work something out, and I can contact them and coordinate.
Also, is there work to be done and needs to be done on the dam outlet on the lake? I think there is.
There is work that needs to be done to the gates.
Yeah.
The seals, rubber seals.
Is that something we want to start looking at or planning on?
I thought, yeah, we need to, in fact, I think, well, you wouldn't know, but Charlie and them know the manufacturer, and
Yeah, I know he and Nancy have been.
they were gonna, so I think Nancy has that on her list. Needs to be done, I think, when they draw the lake down in October. But we ought to tee that up with
Would you
Nancy.
bring that to her attention again?
Anything else? All right, items needing signature, warrants and bills for payroll, there's no minutes, there are journal entries in there. Planning board tomorrow night in this room, Historical Society on this, 7 PM on the 5th in the lodge at Camp Laughing Loon. Monday, August 9th, 6:30 PM, Finance Committee at the Town Hall. Monday, 7 PM, Parks and Rec at the Town Hall. Monday, 7 PM, to Cemetery Committee at the Town Hall. And 6 o'clock here for the Selectmen's meeting, Town Hall Annex. All I would say is, I'm not sure whether Tammy Jo or Nancy have scheduled an executive session or not, but just be aware that could be upcoming, but I guess that's a discussion that you'll have with them too. Okay? Anything else I missed? I'd entertain a motion to adjourn, and John's not here, so.
I apologize, but when you said, was there anything else, before you get into the, making the announcement, there was one statement that I wanted to make, if the chair will also
Sure.
entertain that now. There's been, obviously, some articles in the newspaper of late, including one in the thumbs down section of the Journal Tribune, chastising the Board of Selectmen here in Waterboro for conducting a technical illegal meeting. Said that it wasn't adequately posted, which is in fact true, and that we denied people the opportunity to have questions and so forth, which I would take issue with. The sole purpose of that meeting was so that the board could convey to the employees here as a courtesy to the employees of what some impending decisions were going to be that affected them. There was no votes taken at that particular meeting. It was purely informational, and again, it was courtesy to the town hall employees. On the following Tuesday, at a regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting that was adequately posted, and it was on the agenda, we presented the exact same display for members of the public so that they would have the opportunity, if they wished at that time, to make any comment, suggestion, or whatever. And it was an opportunity for the news media to also ask questions, and the news media was present that night. It was never an intent that we have some type of illegal or secret meeting. It was merely a courtesy to the employees of the town hall. And I'm hoping that people would understand that. But on the other hand, too, we will make every effort possible in the future to avoid even the appearance of having another technical violation. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?